Good evening, everyone. Would like to welcome everyone to the Cadillac Planning Commission here Tuesday, May 27th, 2025. And as per my line I've stole from the mayor, if everyone could please, if able, join me for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Roll call, please.
Shippers.
Here.
Host.
Here.
Rice.
Here.
Bunce. Here. Bosher.
Here.
Bauman.
Here.
Fent.
Here.
Van Pelt.
Here.
Putvin.
Here. Thank you. Need an approval here for, again, of our agenda again for May 27th, 2025.
So moved. Support.
Boom and boom.
Putvin.
Yes.
Bosher.
Yes.
Bauman.
Yes.
Van Pelt.
Yes.
Fent.
Yes.
Rice.
Yes.
Shippers.
Yes.
Host.
Yes.
Bunce.
Yes.
Next, I just need an approval of our last meeting, which was April 28th, 2025, of our meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from April 28th, 2025.
Support.
Bauman.
Yes.
Fent.
Yes.
Bunce.
Yes.
Shippers.
Yes.
Van Pelt.
Yes.
Rice.
Yes.
Bosher.
Yes.
Putvin.
Yes.
Host.
Yes.
Thank you, Danielle. This evening, we have a public hearing for a special land use permit application filed by Mr. Troy Baxter to allow for the property at 822 South Carmel Street, former property of a Wexford County Jail, to be used as a church. Having read this, Mr. Adams, are you in seat,
Yes.
sir?
Okay. Again, for the benefit of the commissioners that I don't know, I'm Jerry Adams. I used to be in John's place years ago. So I'm still young, though. Anyways, I'm going to take you through the staff report relative to this application. And I apologize ahead of the time. I tried to use the largest font size I could, but, you know, you've been through this enough to know that it's a toughie. But anyways, we're dealing with Cornerstone Ministries. The address is 822 South Carmel Street, and if you see by the photo up there, Carmel being the street in front there, the old sheriff's office, and we're going to be looking at that in just, or as we go through here. The applicant is Troy Baxter. He's the pastor of Cornerstone Ministries of Cadillac, and Mr. Baxter is here tonight. Again, the address is 822 South Carmel. The zoning for this site is OS1 Office Service. There was a site plan, a current site plan attached as a supplement to the staff report. And again, the request is the applicant is seeking special land use approval for the operation of a church as provided for under section 463398 of the Cadillac zoning ordinance. In that section provides for religious and other similar assembly uses as a special land use, and that's what we're seeking tonight. And as you know, special land uses end with you. They do not go to the city council. And I realize it's kind of tough to see, but the area that's highlighted in yellow, that's the site. Just to kind of acquaint you, to the left of that, you see that big parking area. That's the Munson Hospital employee parking area, and then west of that, you can see a portion of Munson Hospital. The site itself, in yellow, is 5.24 acres. It was the former facilities for the Wexford County Sheriff's Office. Did a little research, and according to the information I found, the Sheriff's Office relocated in 2017. So that, essentially, that site, that building has been vacant for going on around 8 years. So it's been there a long time without any particular use. And relative to the site plan, and unfortunately it's just hard to blow the site plan up here, but essentially what the church is looking to do in a portion of this building at this time is to develop a chapel area, a fellowship hall space, classrooms, kitchen facilities, a nursery, and of course restrooms, and then also be maintaining the garages, and we'll be looking at some of those in a second. Essentially, it will be a church. On your right is an overhead of the existing facility, and there's this big yellow area. I'll explain that in a second. On the left I took that directly from their site plan, and you can't really read it, I know, but it lists those uses that I just mentioned. The reason I highlighted the yellow, this is a portion of the building that, according to the site plan, has been reserved for future use, so there's nothing at this time designated for that area. And the reason that's important for me to highlight it is later on, we will be recommending a couple conditions, and that area will be mentioned. So I just wanted you to know what I'm talking about. Go through some photos real quickly here, and again, this is looking. We're standing on Carmel, looking west. This is essentially the front of the building. This is the area, by the way, and there will be a photo in a few seconds here. This is the area that will, at this point in time, will receive the greatest amount of exterior improvement. In fact, why don't we go to that right now? Again, this is from their site plan. You can see they're going to modify a portion of the facade, create more of a church-like appearance, windows and so forth, to improve the visual aesthetics of the facility, kind of take away the old jail look, so to speak. And we'll just kind of go around. Here we're looking, this would be northwest. Again, on the left, you can see the main building, and far north behind the truck there, or the van, those are a portion of the existing garage facilities. Looking directly north, standing in their parking lot, those are this is the garage, or there's really two accessory buildings there. And that garage is rather long, and it has a series of overhead doors where you can pull into. Again, we're looking north. This is the existing sign that's there. Needs to be repaired or rehabilitated, obviously. It does meet, by the way, the size requirements of the ordinance, in case you had a question there. This is an office service designation, and the OS allows a sign of up to 32 square feet, so much larger than some of the residential classifications where you commonly find a church as well. And again, we're looking north. Here we're looking, this would be the west side of the facility, the back side, looking off James Street. This is not a public entry area, but I just want to take you around the building. It's a gravel road, or a dirt gravel road, and so forth. This is James Street itself. On the left, that's the north side of one of the accessory buildings. If you follow James Street all the way west, you would eventually run into Munson Hospital. On the north side, you will see a few homes. I don't show it here, but right at the corner of James and Carmel, there is a parking lot that is associated with the medical facility across the street. That site was actually rezoned by the city many years ago to accommodate the parking for that medical facility. This is the south end of the church, or what will be a church if you approve it. If you can't really see it, but if you, again, looking west, if you look through those trees, you can see Munson Hospital. This is directly south, standing in the parking lot of the proposed church facility. That is a county facility to the south. Again, medical and orientation all around almost done here. This is looking kind of southeast. If I look directly east, north of that red building, it's all vacant. And if you look, if you were to look at this from an aerial perspective, the area is really full of primarily medical offices. There are a few homes here and there as well. Okay. In terms of, let me get to my slide here. In terms of neighborhood development, very quickly, again, to the north, it's a mix of that office parking, single-family homes, and there is a commercial structure, although you probably wouldn't realize it. On the east, it's either undeveloped property or medical offices. On the south, medical offices and a Wexford County facility. And on the west is Munson Hospital and Munson employee parking. If we look at zoning of the abutting properties, to the north, James Street, about 82% of that is zoned residential, then about 18% is zoned for that parking area. On the east, south, and west, the entire blocks, the strips of property are 100% zoned for office service. So the zoning of this particular site is very consistent, as well as the uses in terms of what's permitted are very consistent with the majority of the land that's around it. The zoning ordinance, and looking at special land uses for this type of facility, there are 3 required conditions that it must meet, as well as a host of general design standards. We're going to look at those in a second. But in terms of those required conditions, I'll just read them real quickly. They are: no interior display shall be visible from the building, no outdoor storage of goods and services, and thirdly, no warehousing of indoor storage of goods and materials, that is, if not associated with the special land use. And staff reviewed this. We do not find any violations of those 3. We don't see anything going on, at this point at least, that would violate those particular conditions. And as a point of information, these run with the land. So if this were to happen in the future, staff would have the availability to kindly talk with the applicant and hopefully make improvements if necessary. But as of right now, we believe, staff feels these particular conditions have been complied with. And then there are a series of about 9 or so design standards. I want to look at those somewhat quickly, but they're important. This is what a special land use has to meet in order for you to consider approval. And what staff did is we went through and looked at those design criteria, or design standards, I'm sorry, and basically said, do they or do they not meet? I will tell you right now, we believe they meet all of them, but I do feel it's important to go through them. The first one is 1A, and these are from section 46747. The use shall be designed, operated, constructed, operated, and maintained harmonious with the character of the area, so to speak. And some of our findings, and I've just kind of summarized them here, there is limited exterior of the use. The primary use is parking, so there's not a lot going on outside of the church. We don't believe that any of the interior operations, that is the church, is not anticipated to result in any significant exterior impacts. And one of the things we did, we looked at other churches in the city that are located particularly in residential areas, and we found that they tend to fit rather well, generally speaking. Also, as I pointed out earlier, a vast majority of the abutting sites are zoned OS1, so that also really avoids potential conflicts as those surrounding properties are developed. A little more of this particular one, of this particular standard, I should say. Let me find it here. Here we go. Okay, yep. Again, hang on here. Let me find my notes. Here we go. The, again, 46747 1A, compatibility continued. A majority, as I pointed out earlier, a majority of the developed sites are office service, including Munson Hospital. And as you know, Munson Hospital also operates on a 24/7 basis. So there's really some activity going on in this area. When the sheriff's office was there, it also operated on a 24/7 basis. We don't envision the church operating, however, on a 24/7 basis. And also, Carmel Street is designed as a collector system, and I'll explain that a little later. It is capable of handling the anticipated traffic. Invariably, traffic tends to sometimes be an issue when you look at a use, and so, again, in a few seconds, we're going to talk about traffic. 1B, the next one, the standard says the use shall not inadequately change the essential character of the area. And as we've pointed out, a majority of the neighborhood development is medical offices, some of which operate on a 24/7 basis. I mentioned the sheriff's office operating on a 24/7 basis. And in addition to medical offices, there are a few other offices as well. And again, scattered here and there, but kind of beyond, you'll find some residential condominiums and a few homes. But generally speaking, with the exception on the north, the area is pretty much surrounded by office development. Also, we went around the entire site and area, and about 85% of the surrounding frontage in the neighborhood area, as I call it, that area that we notify people of, is zoned for office or for off-street parking. So, again, we think the use is fairly consistent with this. Again, a little continuation. I did point out there are some homes north of the site, but they pre-existed for a number of years. They've been there for decades, so to speak, and they've done so in concert with the area's office development, as well as they were formerly there when the sheriff's office was operating. So, and to our knowledge, I looked at the history. There weren't any significant conflicts that surfaced, so to speak. And again, as I pointed out, over a large percentage of the surrounding property is zoned properly. 1C, the next one, the use shall not interfere with the general enjoyment of adjacent property. And staff, we could not ascertain any findings that the church per se, in terms of its operation, would interfere with the general enjoyment of adjacent property. 1D, the use shall represent an improvement to the use or character of the property and the surrounding area, yet also be in keeping with the natural environment of the site. And again, as we pointed out, the building and the site, they've been vacant for about 8 years, and they have received some limited maintenance, so it is encouraging to see a reuse of that site, that building and site, hopefully to be well maintained. And as noted, and I'm sure the applicant can address this more fully, the applicant proposes to rehabilitate a portion of the exterior as well as the interior of the building, as well as begin to maintain the site as well. And there are no changes to the natural environment. Essentially, there is no natural environment per se that exists here, such as wetlands and so forth. There is some treat areas and so forth, but it's my understanding those will remain. The next one is the use shall not be hazardous to adjacent property or create a series of issues. And I'll address these in 2 slides here. In terms of noise, odor, fumes, and glare and so forth, again, we didn't find that the use would propose or would have any anticipated negative context regarding these particular conflicts. And again, as you, I'm sure, are aware, this project, as all similar projects, will be subject to compliance with the local and state building codes, with the public utility or sanitation requirements, the fire marshal requirements. It will also be subject to the food preparation requirements from the standpoint of the kitchen of the county health department. I'm well aware of that because our church just went through this. Relative to these potential issues, again, they are all regulated by agencies of the city or state. And let me find my little. Okay. This one deals with traffic. Again, I wanted to talk a little bit about traffic. As I mentioned earlier, the primary access to the site is gained via Carmel Street. And Carmel functions as what I call a collector street, and it provides access to budding office and residential development between East Division and Cobb Street, more or less. Some people might refer to it as a minor arterial. It's a little higher classification. I don't believe so, but nonetheless, really doesn't matter. We did some estimated counts on a daily basis, and don't worry, we didn't go out there and stand for 24 hours and waste the public's time. But we did some random counts knowing when peak traffic times would happen. We've estimated that it generates on a daily basis about 1,500 trips per day. And that is over a 24-hour basis. A residential collector street like this can easily handle anywhere from 2,000 to 5,000 trips per day, or even more in some cases. And as you'll see in a minute, in terms of the church too, other than a few occasions, it will be accessing Carmel Street mostly on Sundays, which is when other businesses in the area, except for the hospital, to a degree, tend to have less traffic using that system because they're closed. We did look at peak traffic times and so forth, and again, why did I spend so much time? Because traffic is always an issue with special land uses, and I wanted to cover it. Peak traffic times for the church will likely be somewhere between, will be Sunday morning, somewhere between 8 and 12 p.m. when services are happening. It may be possible they'll have some evening services and so forth, but generally speaking, peak times for churches are on Sunday mornings. And this is what we anticipate here. Based on the site plan at full occupancy right now, the project will generate about 40 trips going in and coming out, 40 vehicles basically, which is not really very significant for a site like this. Sundays, as I mentioned, will tend to be lower for other uses surrounding it. So this low level of vehicles is not going to be an issue at all. Obviously, there will be times when the church may have other events, a wedding, a funeral, and so forth, where traffic may be a little higher in volume, but again, we don't see that as an issue. And the site does have ample space to accommodate the peak parking as well as additional parking on the site. Almost done here. This one, 1F, the use shall be adequately served by essential public facilities and services. We did send the site plan around the staff, so to speak, to the fire marshal, utilities director, to the consultant engineer, to the utilities department and so forth. And none of the departments had really any issues at this time with respect to the special land use and the church per se. Now, obviously, they're going to have an opportunity, if this is approved, to do a more thorough review because there will be design requirements that will have to come into to play. This one's very similar. This particular standard, it says the use shall not place demands on public services and facilities in excess of current capacity. And again, as this went around to the different staff individuals, it was indicated that existing facilities and services have adequate capacity to handle the proposed church. This one I think is extremely important as well, and it deals with says the use shall be consistent with the intent and purpose of this chapter, the zoning ordinance, and the objectives of the currently adopted long-range comprehensive plan. We went to the comprehensive plan and found that on page 34, it calls for this area, it calls it or classifies it as the Munson Hospital or kind of medical area, so to speak, and basically identifies the area for medical purposes and for other types of services, essentially for uses that are very consistent with the OS1 classification. So this particular project is consistent with the findings of the master plan, and it's also compliant with the zoning ordinance relative to what the master plan is calling for. And the last one, outdoor play areas. No play areas are planned at this time, so that particular standard was met. We, and the applicant's aware of this, we did, staff is calling for two conditions, two basic conditions. And the first one is because, as I mentioned, a portion of this building is designated for future use. And so we're suggesting that if you approve this, that you attach a condition that the use of the building designated on the plan is reserved for future use, that any modifications to the garage areas for uses other than storage associated with the church, the placement of site maintenance equipment such as lawnmowers, snow removal equipment, or the parking of vehicles, should it not be used for a typical garage, or should changes be made to the site, that a condition be applied that this has to come back to the city for staff review, and staff then can make a determination as to whether this needs to come back to you or if we can handle it ourselves under the ordinance. And then the last, or the second condition, this is kind of a customary, typical condition that I know you apply to a lot of special land uses. It will apply whether you attach it or not, but you have applied it in the past, so I added it. And that is the occupancy and use of the structures and the site shall be subject to applicable building, sanitary, and health codes. In terms of correspondence, we did send out notices to all property owners and residents within 300 feet. As of the time of the staff report, no correspondence has been received. You may have some questions of staff, and that's fine. And if once that's taken care of, as I mentioned, our applicant is here tonight, Mr. Chair. He may wish to make a presentation again. His name is Troy Baxter. He's the pastor of Cornerstone Ministries of Cadillac. And with that, I'm finished.
Thank you, Mr. Adams.
You're welcome.
Any questions for Mr. Adams before open public hearing? Everybody's good? Go. At this time, I'm going to open public hearing. Again, if everybody's been listening here to resurrect the old jail into a church, so that's why we're all here. Anyone in our audience wishing to speak in favor or against?
Resurrect. Well done.
Yeah,
No,
that's
I
good.
tied it
Verbiage
all
there,
together.
John.
No, I'm a church-going guy, you know. Okay.
Raising
Alright.
from the dead.
Hey.
New bird. Out of the tomb.
Mr. Baxter, sir.
Sir, I appreciate the opportunity to stand here and in a positive vein, and I'm glad that some of the other stuff that council has had to deal with isn't here tonight. And I believe that we were very fortunate to have the opportunity to acquire this property, and having a background in building trades, and I do mentoring for that. I know the value that's there, and I know that we're going to have to deal with the ugly but the structure is solid, and it was overbuilt way back in the day, and the sheriff's department did maintain it well. They just outgrew it, and everything worked when we walked in. And so I'm very appreciative of all of those things. And as you look at the whole site, the first impression is, well, the jail, and there's kind of a recoil from that. But only 25% of that whole site was used to incarcerate people, the cell block. The balance of the site was used for the sheriffs and the deputies and those that made a commitment to serve and protect, and including the equipment. So we were able to get past the jail mantra there, and as we move along, it'll look less and less like the former jail. It'll look more and more like a place of worship. And some of the people that that attend our congregation have spent time in that facility when it was a jail. And I had one guy that said, I spent a weekend in the drunk tank here with 8 other guys. And he was glad that, now that there's a key. And there's been a lot of restoration and healing in his life. He's doing wonderful. I've got a deacon that took me to the place in the jail that he said, I spent one night in there when I was really young, and that was enough for me. But the door was off, So there's a lot of good stories, and what better story could there be to take something that, used to bring despair and bring it back to the community and have some real positive things take place there. So we intend to be good neighbors. We're good neighbors where we're located right now. We just grew out of the building that we're in over on Alder Street. So this is, I feel like it's a sign, demonstration of God's favor to our congregation, and we've been in that stance since we came. We'll be starting our 15th year here in Cadillac on June 12th. So thank you for your support. If there's any other questions, I can answer those before I sit down. Okay, thank you.
Everybody's good. Thank you, Mr. Baxter. Anyone else in our audience that has any input, good or bad? Nope. Perfect. At this time, close the public hearing, and we will discuss what's been presented. Good look.
I love all of the poetic nature of this, of the resurrection and reconciling the property and turning despair into hope, and I like that a lot. I think it's a great project for there.
Agreed.
Yeah, I always have some reservations when something is not being used and has been abandoned and just sort of sitting in a community, and not being used. And say, what are you going to do with that? Well, you came up with that. Seems like a good fix.
Agreed. Okay, sounds like everybody's on the right page.
Danielle, would you put the motion back up? Please.
Mm-hmm.
It's always at the end.
Is that it right there?
Yeah, that's it. Right there.
Yeah.
Sort of wordy, I know.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion as provided by staff that the use of the building area, that the special use permit be granted to Cornerstone Ministries as requested, subject to 2 conditions. First of all, the use of the building area detailed on the site plan is reserved for future use. And additionally, modifications to the garage areas for uses other than the storage of building materials, site maintenance equipment, and vehicle parking directly associated with the church and its assembly functions, and any site modifications involving the placement of new buildings and structures shall be subject to city review and approval prior to any use, modifications, or placement. Second condition being the occupancy and use of the structure shall be subject to applicable building zoning, building sanitary, health, and other administrative requirements of city staff.
Perfect.
Well, we'll see if there's a second.
Okay, I'm sure there is. Mr. Fent, seconds.
All right. Van Pelt,
Yes.
Rice,
Yes.
Bauman,
Yes.
Shippers,
Yes.
Bunce,
Yes.
Host,
Yes.
Putvin,
Yes,
Bosher,
Yes.
Fent.
Yes.
perfect. Okay, Mr. Baxter. Yes, sir.
Oh, actually, thank you. That's a good use for that,
Yep.
that location.
Okay, moving right along. Can't beat last month's record, but hey.
You get close.
No new business, no old business. Board member comments. Hope everyone had a great Memorial Day, I guess, but, yep. Good.
Nice parade.
No communications, as Mr. Adams stated at the time of this. Any public comments in our public? There being none there. No other business, and everyone
to
have a
adjourn.
good night. We're out.
There will be a meeting next